letting you. We'll be recording this session, so it will be available on the Facebook group and YouTube channel so that everyone wants to rewatch it and so forth. So that means, Kate Wales, you have to behave yourself and not swear too much, okay?
Try my best.
Absolutely, no doubt about that at all. So first of all, just a quick recap of the weekend's games. What do you all think? How did it go? I can just sit here and wait. I don't mind. What do you think? How did it go?
Well, overall, it's pretty tough to concentrate on everything going on.
It is, isn't it? It's an overwhelming environment for most people, the first game they play. Who for not all of you, it was your first game. I know for a couple of you, it wasn't. Kate, it was. Kate, so I think it's your second season now, sort of 2.5 you will have played.
Yeah. Felt like the first though in centre. Wow.
No, but centre's different. It can be a bit overwhelming as well. What are some of the key things that you take home from game one?
Skating just without the puck is completely different to in a game.
Yep, that's a big one, isn't it? Skating with gear on's different. Anything else? I can call names if you like. See if anyone's got anything to contribute. Because for most of you, it was either your first game in a position you're playing or an early game for pretty much all of you, except with the exception of Luke, who was playing his normal position. What about you, Tove? What did you notice? Sorry, I'm going to keep pronouncing that wrong. I'm sorry. You'll have to correct me.
That's all right. How did it go?
Yeah, what did you learn?
What did I learn? Yep, skating with gear on is very different. And yeah, a lot to focus on and a lot of internal panic. I'm very sore.
It's a big deal. Just the anxiety of your first game. It's quite a lot. It's an overwhelming environment. All of a sudden, there's a new group of people that you have to slot in with and work with somehow. Not everyone's name that you will know. If you didn't get a chance to come to training session, you'll be even more concerned because what is this hockey thing? I've seen it on telly, but it's not the same. So yeah, managing that. How do you think? What are some good ways to manage the stress of your first couple of games?
You still asking me?
Well, anyone who wants to answer, but if you're, you've piped up, so.
Oh, I don't know. I think if there's anything I learned from how I felt the day after, it would be to relax and remember to breathe.
That's important, isn't it? It's easy to tighten up, isn't it? Are there any strategies that you can use before a game to help be prepared?
Come and skate before you jump on.
It's a really good idea, because especially if you're not particularly comfortable on ice skates, just getting to the rink for the public session, if it's not always practical, but if you can, just getting to the rink, the public session, just skating around, and you can put your gear on, or at least the bottom half, you can put your pants and your socks on, and shinnies, and just skate around for half an hour, just getting used to it and being comfortable. So when you do jump on for that little 2-minute warm-up, you're not, ice skates. It's like, oh yeah, I've already done this today. I'm kind of familiar with it. That's a good one. Anything else?
asking questions before you jump on.
Yeah, not a bad idea. There's not a lot of time though, is there?
No.
How
not
can
really.
you get more time?
Pardon?
How
Stick
can-
and puck,
Say again?
starting up the stick and puck or the senior development classes.
Yep, those things certainly do help. I mean, all of these things help, but in particular on game day, stick and puck's usually a little bit late for game day. So yeah, we've got a game coming up this weekend. Both teams do. What from the previous game would you would help to be better prepared for the next one on game day that you can actually change, apart from getting there and having a skate of the public session, which we've already discussed, and remembering to breathe.
Watch the previous game.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. If there is one, if you're the first game, that doesn't work. But yeah, that's not a bad idea either. Watch it, see what you can learn from it.
I think starting out, maybe having some of your own gear would probably help.
Yeah,
as well.
there's go on with that. There's a theme here. Just go on with it a little bit.
I mean, well, you get more comfortable with your own sort of gear, so you can work with it a lot better. And then you don't have to borrow the stuff from iceHQ. That's sometimes a little bit dull on the skates, or smells a bit, or just not really as good as having your own gear that's brand new or just well looked after.
Well, not that the stuff there isn't particularly well looked after, but you make some valid points.
But yeah,
If you do have to borrow gear, what's a good idea to do?
come early.
Yeah, be there on time.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to experience is, before a stressful environment, to be putting more stress on yourself. And a classic way to put more stress on yourself is to be late and fussing around after gear when you're trying to get stuff done, and there's a team that's basically waiting for you, and a game that's going to start on time whether you're ready or not. So basically being early if you don't have your own equipment, and even like being early if you do have your own equipment, it's not a bad idea, because it's just controlling one of those things that can help you be a little bit less stressed on game day, so that you can actually concentrate a little bit more on remembering to breathe and playing the game, rather than being already overwrought before you even get onto the ice for your first shift, which is a daunting thing. We try as coaches in this program, we all try very hard to remember that certainly for your first half a dozen games, just getting on the ice at the first time is a very stressful thing. It takes a while to just get over that initial, I'm on the ice and there's people skating towards me and there's puck and it's, help, what do I do? I don't want to look like an idiot, because there's that real fear of human adults in particular are understandably anxious about being laughed at for being, not very good. Well, the good thing about beginner hockey is that none of you are any good, so it doesn't matter, and everyone is in an environment where you're all new to the sport, which is not totally unique to hockey, but it is one of the things that I think makes ice hockey one of the more accessible games for adults coming into from a cold start, so to speak. Anything else we would have picked up from that first game? You all played it.
Think focus on just keeping it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. What does that mean?
Stick to the plan you've talked about. Not trying to overcomplicate things or do anything fancy.
What was the plan for game one? Do you remember?
A good D.
Yeah, what does that mean? Sorry, I'm going to keep asking these questions. Maybe that's why no one wants to pipe up in the first place.
Not let the other team score.
Well, that is obviously the desirable thing about good defense. But what do you mean by good D? That's fairly vague.
Manning up.
sometimes. Is that what we taught?
Make sure you're not defending too high.
Yeah. Defensive positioning is probably how I'd explain it. What we teach is actually a zone defense. If you've played basketball or like pretty much almost every sport that has a goal to defend, you've usually got a choice of playing an individual player-by-player markup position, markup sort of defensive pattern, or a zone defense where you occupy a particular space. And we teach in our program a zone defense almost entirely. And there's a few exceptions to that, but on the whole, that's what we do. What else there was two key things that we were looking at in game one. That was, good defensive positioning was one of them. What was the other one?
Short shifts.
Yeah, short shifts. There we go. Got there in the end. Why is that so important?
Because hockey's tiring.
Yeah, hockey's tiring. Absolutely, especially when you forget to breathe. But why is hockey tiring?
It's a fast game.
It is. It's one of the fastest games. Why is it so fast?
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, absolutely. But there's a lot going on in a game of basketball, but it's nowhere near the pace of ice hockey, is it?
Yeah.
There's more going on in a game of football because there's 36 people plus referees and umpires and everything else happening on the field at the same time, but it's not nearly as quick as ice hockey. What makes ice hockey so quick?
The ice.
Yeah. You can move really quick. Even if you're not a particularly fast person, even if you're not a great runner, you can go seriously fast on ice. You can go as fast as a bicycle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not, but there's you've probably seen on the Olympics the Winter Olympics, the long track speed skating. You might have seen short track speed skating as well. I don't know if you've seen it, but anyway, long track speed skating, they have a 1,000-meter race. Is one of the events, and like the world record times for that is around about 60 seconds, give or take, which is averaging 60 kilometers an hour on ice skates. To put that in context, the record for the 1 kilometer standing start race on a bicycle is around about 55 or so seconds. So that's around about the same sort of pace as you can do on a bicycle, you can do on ice skates. I'm not suggesting that beginners in ice hockey are capable of going quite that fast, but we are capable of going very quickly. And what else moves really quickly on the ice?
The puck.
The puck.
The puck. It moves a hell of a lot faster than you do. So it's a very, very quick game. That's one of the reasons why it's so exciting to watch. And it's also one of the reasons why it can be dangerous. Did something happen in our second game? Who played game two? Who was it? I can't remember which way around it was, but there was an incident in game two.
Didn't someone break their leg?
I broke their leg. Yep. Compound fracture, tibia and fibia snapped. Oops. So obviously that's not a good thing. It was an innocent collision. There was no malice intended in it. But it is one thing that we find happens in beginner games much more so than in games where players are more advanced. And the main reason for that is because at higher level, we're a bit better at the jargon for it is keeping your head up, or basically having situational awareness, knowing who's around you. I'm going to show you guys a video now because this is important, and it's something that safety is a big thing for us. And as I'm sure you can imagine, over the last 24 hours, those of us who are coaching C2 teams have had a bit of a discussion about some safety aspects and trying to see if we can make the game safer for beginners, because we don't want anyone getting hurt. There's always a risk. We can't completely eliminate it, but we're trying to make the game as safe as we can. And so there's some things that we're looking at asking for a rule change about, but that's a little bit orthogonal. I'm going to show you a video now of a collision that occurred in a game that we weren't playing. This is a C1 game, but it's a similar situation. So I just want to show you this so that you can kind of see how quickly it can go wrong. Look up in the top right of the screen. We'll watch it once more. I'm not trying to be a voyeur about this. I just want to make sure you've all seen it. All right. So what happened? Nothing
That
happened.
was a good head-on collision.
It was a head-on collision, wasn't it? There was a puck, two players skating in opposite directions towards the puck. What were they both watching?
The puck.
Yeah. They weren't watching out for each other, were they?
Nope.
Because if they were, hopefully they would have avoided the collision. They might have been a little bit more careful. And I know we spoke to you as a team before the first game, and we will continue to repeat it. And Renee and I will repeat that throughout the season. That our number one priority when we're playing is to have fun and to keep the game as safe as possible, which means as much as we can avoiding catastrophic collisions like that. That collision involved resulted in a severe concussion. And one of the players involved wasn't able to continue the game. It wasn't a broken bone, but it was a concussion. And you can see how it can happen so very, very quickly and so easily. And it's basically target fixation. You see the puck, you go barreling at the puck. Everyone in your team is all yelling at you, encouragement and support, and we do that as well as a coaching team. Go, faster, faster, faster. So there's all that pressure on you to go quickly, and you're focused on a puck, and then something comes from a different direction that you didn't see, maybe you weren't aware of, and bang, you have a collision. And in that instance, it was only a concussion. Not that concussions are not a big deal. It wasn't a broken bone, but concussions can be pretty nasty as well. So I'm not sure what we'll see with that player if she comes back or not after that game. It was a little bit quicker because it was a C1 game, so it's a little bit faster than a C2 game. But this is a situation that we want to try and avoid. So how do you think you can avoid those sorts of things happening? Bear in mind we can't eliminate them, but how can we reduce the likelihood of it happening?
Make sure you're looking around when you're skating fast.
Yeah, keep your head up, keep your eyes open. It's an easy thing to say, isn't it? Develop situational awareness when you're in a whole new stressful environment. It's really hard to do. What we try and teach, especially you work out pretty quickly who's fast and who isn't. It's not hard to see. If you're one of the faster players, you've got an obligation to look after the slower ones. It's a skill thing. It's not necessarily a strength and power thing. Fast skating is predominantly about skill. And if you are a faster skater and you're skating towards the puck, you have an obligation to look out for the slower ones and not barrel into them like a cannonball. Pretty much. Again, it's an easy thing to say because we get adrenaline and we get a burst of adrenaline and we're in a game, off we go. And we get white line, red line fever, whatever you want to call it. And it's a real thing, but we have an obligation to try and mitigate that as much as possible. What we've asked the rink to do as a coaching group throughout the C2 coaches is you've actually asked them to make taking a dive or sliding for the puck, make that a penalty offence, which it isn't at the moment. We want to try and avoid players diving for the puck. And I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you in a video example. And this hasn't been confirmed yet. The rink hasn't said yes, but we hope that they will. And we will certainly be encouraging you as a group, even if it's not a rule, it'll be one of our rules within the team that you stay on your feet rather than diving for the puck. And I'm going to show you a video of it just now so that you can see what we're talking about. I've got that. Yes, somewhere. It's get a folder from that one. Just bear with me for just a second. Yes, the hockey folder. The rules. I wrote a proposal today with like a rule in it. Said, hey, Ryan, please consider this. It's from all of us. We don't want this happening because it's potentially quite dangerous. So I'll show you an example. And again, this is from that same game, because I spent a bit of time going through that particular game, and you'll see hopefully what I'm talking about. So this is, you'll see it, usual sort of push and shove. Did you see that? It was pretty quick. What's just happened?
He died for the puck and lost
Yeah.
his stick.
Is that a particularly safe thing to do?
No.
No. It's at elite level, you'll see it happen fairly often, but there's a difference. The elite guys can get up. And I know that sounds horribly patronizing, but the reality is an elite player that dives for a puck within about 2 meters is back on their feet. Right? It's one of the skills of higher level hockey. At C2, half of you can hardly stand up as it is. So we don't want you falling down. We want you to stay on your feet. Now, that particular incident, there was no one really around apart from sort of number 37 there who's involved in the play. So that's not so bad. But I'll show you another one, which is arguably more dangerous. Where did it go? There we go. I'll show you another one, which is a bit more of a concern. This one. That other one was just an example. I was trying to show Ryan, who's the director of the program of the beer league, like an example of it, where it was obvious that the guy took a dive. But this one here is a bit more of a concern. Okay, did you all see that? Watch on the bottom screen. What's the potential there?
Tripping another player and
Tripping for starters. Now, that particular game, the referees didn't do as good a job on tripping as they should have. But not only tripping, look at what's coming along behind. There's another player there, number 17 in white, who might not be able to get out of the way. And he's going quite quickly.
she'll get trampled.
Manages to get out of the way, but look how long this one's sort of on the ice and still sliding around, basically like a cannonball. Right. It's not a very safe thing, really, is it? So we want to ban it. At least in C2, because you guys aren't allowed to do slap shots for basically the same reason. It's an advanced skill, and at the moment, the vast majority of you get on the ice. It's an overwhelming environment. Everyone's got adrenaline and stress and forgetting to breathe and so forth. And you don't have the situational awareness to be able to manage things that aren't directly in your line of vision. So if someone is down sliding along the ice, they're in a really, really bad place. What are some of the reasons why sliding along the ice is so dangerous that you can think of?
Skates are sharp.
Yep, skates are very sharp. Skates are a very dangerous thing. What else?
Could put your head into the boards.
You could put your head into the boards, and if you do, what do you risk doing?
Breaking your neck.
Risk breaking your neck. Hello, quadriplegia. Do we want that? No, we do not. Stay on your feet. Okay. I know I'm preaching to the converted. I've got 7 of you here for this evening session, and you're all the keen ones because you've actually taken the time to be here. But you are my ambassadors within the program now, because you're here and you're listening and hopefully paying attention. Stay on your feet and encourage your teammates to do the same. One of the things that's really important about a lot of the stuff that we run through our program is positive reinforcement. If you do something, if you make a good decision, I will encourage all of you as teammates to applaud and cheer and so forth for a good decision. If you make a poor decision, I encourage everyone not to say anything. An example of a poor decision is taking a dive. or sliding to try and get the puck. Now, if you take a dive and slide to get the puck and you successfully do it, I don't want anyone to cheer for that because
Almost bad habits.
yeah, absolutely. It's rewarding a very poor, sorry, this is swatting fly. It's rewarding. It's giving a positive reinforcement to a behavior that we don't want. We do the same thing with defensive players pinching high and a bunch of other stuff, which we'll go through the season. The idea is reward by cheering and whatever, good decision making, so that we reinforce good decisions, because hockey's all about making good decisions. And it's hard to do, but we want to make good decisions as best we can. So I know I've kind of spent about half an hour at the moment, pretty much hammering on about stay on your feet, but it is actually really important. I cannot overstress the importance of staying on your feet, and I'm hoping that Ryan will listen to what we've said, and hopefully even agree with us and implement some form of a across the board rule for C grade or C2 at least, saying that stay on your feet. Any deliberate, like if you fall over by mistake, it doesn't mean stop playing, but if you deliberately dive, we want it to be a penalty, so that there's a consequence to it, even if no one is hurt, because we really want to try and encourage safe play as much as we can. Anyway, with that said, let's get on to the fun stuff, which was going to be face-offs, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Okay. So how many of you here play centre?
Yeah, me.
Yep. How about you, Kate Wales? You play centre, don't you? Oh yeah, I do now.
No, reluctantly.
You don't want to?
Actually, it's probably worth learning. It's
Yeah,
just
probably worth learning. Absolutely. Well, you're not in your first season now, so you've got a bit of time. If you don't like it, we can move you out. There's plenty of other people who do want to play it.
It's too early to know whether I like it.
Yeah, that's true. But the point is that the face-off is a place where a centre has a unique role. It's because you're the one who is going to get the first crack at the puck, and it's a defined thing. You line up, and there's you and the other centre, and you're facing each other, and that's like you're in each other's faces, and there's referee about to drop the puck, and then you have to do something. So the key is to work out what are you going to do. And your teammates also have to have a rough idea. Say, for example, I'm a centre and I'm going to win it back to my D behind me. That D needs to know the puck's coming, or they won't know what to do with it when they've got it, and they're going to panic and do something that I don't want them to do. So I'm going to pop up I've got a nice video of a neutral zone face-off play here. Oh no, that's not the one I want. It's not particularly good. I'll just pull up a picture of a rink, and we'll use that. That will work better. With me just for a second while I shuffle things around. Then we'll talk about face-off positioning. Face-off positioning is important because talking about stress and being embarrassed and that sort of stuff and doing the dumb stuff on the rink and everyone laughing at you. When you line up for a face-off, you want to be in the right place. Otherwise, what are you doing there? Oh, am I in the wrong spot? Yes, you are. And it's one of those easy things to, if you're all prepared about it, you're going to be better. So you guys, you can all see that picture all right? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yep.
Yep.
So we have a generic ice rink there. It's NHL size. It's got all the bits and pieces. So I'm just going to use kind of little squiggles to show where the various different players would be. So to start with, we'll just worry about one team. We won't worry about opposing teams or anything. Just to make it nice and easy, so I'm going to use purple. So you've got your center, you've got a winger, you've got a winger, you've got a D and a D. And that's your usual setup for a face-off. In almost every situation on the ice, that's how you would conventionally set up. There is an exception to that, but we'll get to that a little bit. To start with, that's your general setup. So as a center in that situation, I have some decisions to make. The first one is, if I win the puck, where do I win it? Where do I want to put the puck? So as centers, where do you think you want the puck to go?
to one of your defenders?
Usually, yeah. Why? Not always, but usually.
Most
Furthest away
time
from
to
the
put the puck
opponent?
somewhere.
One at a time. Sorry. I know it's hard with Zoom.
Furthest away from the opponent, and it gives the wingers a chance to set up.
Yeah, gives you a bit of time, doesn't it? Time's good because we play a pressure sport. People move quickly, and if someone arrives, if you're a player receiving the puck and someone arrives to put pressure on you just as the puck arrives, so you're likely to make a good decision.
No.
No, not usually. It's going to be a crap decision because you're under pressure, and we make shit decisions under pressure. We're humans. We can't help it. It's what happens. It's why we make bad decisions. If I've got the luxury of time, I can say, oh, I could do all these wonderful things and plot this all out. But in reality, I have like a fraction of a second and there's someone in my face. So I can't muck around. So as a lefty, when I play center, what I want to do, and for you guys it's different, is I would want to win the puck back to there. And I would then want to go that way. So that this player, that defensive player who's just received the puck, would then, give me a nice color so you can see it, would then do this with the puck, right? Which gives me then the opportunity to pick it up, go off, and try and score a goal. Seems like a good plan, doesn't it? Works. And it's a good start. So if you win it back to a D, or if you're the D that the puck gets one back to, your probably first play would be to bounce it off the boards on the side that you're on. Why do you want to bounce it off the boards?
Send it around the opponent.
Yep, that's one really good reason. There's another part to it too. Because that's a good point. But what's the other point?
The puck moves quicker?
Yeah, puck moves quicker. So think about receiving the pass. Think about this player who's just taken off from this direction, wants to pick up the pass and wants to pick up the puck and then go and try and score a goal, or at least get a shot on. Is it easier to receive a puck that's bounced off the boards or one that's passed straight to you?
Off the board.
Yeah, it's much easier. Slows it down a little bit, which helps. And also usually puts it in front of you. And the puck in front of you is much easier to pick up than ones that's tangled up in your feet. And I can tell you as C2 players, if it's down in your feet, you're not getting it. It's not going to happen. You've lost the puck. So if that defensive player has the presence of mind to do it, what they want to do is belt it off the boards pretty hard, and it can then, the puck will then sort of go off in this direction, in which point you can go and pick it up and you're away. Happy times. Let's see it for real. I have a video of this somewhere. That's the one. This one worked. Give me a second. This is a game that from one of my teams from a while ago, but it's the same thing. All right, so you'll see it in the top of the screen. There's a face-off setup. All right. So that's me taking the face off. I've only got this because I'm not trying to show you that I'm any good. I actually bugger it up. But the idea is what I'm trying to do is put the puck back there. And then what's going to happen is the puck is going to do that. Get it out of the way. Puck is going to do that and then that. This is the idea. Let's see what happens. See? Seems pretty simple, doesn't it? It provides an opportunity for an attack, and that's what we want to try and do from a face-off if we can. The D has to know that it's coming. Otherwise, they won't know what to do with it. They'll stand there with the puck, go, "Oh, what do I do?" And at this level, as much as I love the D to D pass, which is two defensive players passing to each other, it's not a great idea at this point because you're going to muck it up. Certainly for the first couple of weeks, until you get your sort of puck skills under pressure working a little bit better. A defense to defense pass is generally a bad idea. We want to be playing the puck up the ice, so moving it towards the opposition goal whenever we can, just as a general principle. Hopefully that makes sense. There it is. Come back, rinky rink. I know the one that I want. So what we just drew, or what I just described, is, where's the annotator? Come back. Here, annotator, there you are. Right. Puck went back there. Defensive player played it off the boards and away it went. The center skated off, picked it up, and then went in to try and score a goal. What I would prefer we don't do at this point, say we've got a D here and a D here. If you win the puck back to that D, the temptation is to pass to the other D. At the moment, I don't suggest it. Maybe 6 weeks on, we might. But to start with, if you get the puck back here, belt it off the boards, create that attacking opportunity. It's a simple thing to do, and we know that it works. We've seen it work. And even if the center doesn't necessarily go to pick it up because they forget, the winger can go as well. So you can have like two players rushing forward on it. The other players at C2 level are probably still standing there staring at it, wondering what just happened, because things happen quickly. And they're like, "Oh, what happened? It's behind me now. Whoops." So that's a basic play from a face-off. When do you think, because we know face-offs happen in different parts of the rink, don't we? They don't just happen in the middle of the ice, yeah? Would there ever be a situation, do you think, as a center, where you don't want to play the puck backwards?
When the face-off is in your defense?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, for example, and again, as a lefty, I'll draw this as a righty because I suspect you guys who are playing center are more likely to be right-handed. If this is your defensive zone, and I'm going to set this up a little bit differently. If that is your defensive zone face-off, right? This center does not want to do this with the puck. Why not?
It's going to get intercepted.
Yeah, well, maybe not even intercept. You might even put it in the net yourself. But yeah, where does the opposition want the puck to be?
In the slot?
Yeah, where have you just put it?
In the slot.
Slot.
Exactly. Right where they want it, not where you want it. Bad. Right, so you don't want to win it back there. So instead, you would probably want to, you can win it back into this corner, which is safe, or you can belt it up that way, which is also safer, not such a bad option, or you can even poke it through just a little bit behind the face-off to there. And I'll explain why that's a good thing at the moment. Bear in mind, this is a thing called a defensive zone face-off, which we haven't really worked on very much yet because it's a slightly more advanced thing. But at least if some of you have seen it, as a center, these are places that are good places to put the puck. There is a bad place, and there is a bad place. Because those are scoring opportunities for the opposition. Because we know now that this area here is the area where goals are scored. So if we put the puck there for our opponents, it's a bad place for it to be. It's also, coming back, one of the first points that one of you made right at the very start of the session, where we need to defend and where we do need to man up, or pick a player and be in their face if they're in this area. Because we have sort of a hybrid of a zone defense and a player-on-player defensive setup as well, don't we? All good with that? What do you think, Kate? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's just hard to control where the puck goes after a face off.
Of course it is. If there's someone in your face trying to do something that you don't want as well. So you need to be fierce. Okay. The center to center battle is an adversarial one. You've got to be switched on. You can't afford to, oh, I'm just going to coast around and amble. Center's a pretty intense thing to do in that situation because there is another player right in front of you who is trying to stop you from doing what you do because they want to do something else, which makes it entertaining. Now I've got if you've all seen, I don't know if you all saw it, there was a bunch of face-off goals. I had a video running at the start with some face-off goal situations where you can get quick shots from that, which is always nice and fun. But what I do want to show you, if I have it here, some more stuff on face-offs. No, that's not it. Okay, so what I want to talk a little bit about now is what's called distance management. So those of you that are who's playing D here, centers are also playing D. So I know I've got Alex and Kate. And the rest of you, I know Tove, you're playing D. You're playing D. So we'll talk a little bit about the importance of what's called managing distance. So I'm going to show you a video, and I'll see what you pick up from it. It's a really valuable one. Oh, that's not the one either. Sorry, I sound a bit disorganized. I'm not normally. That's a lie. That's the one. Here we go. All right. I don't know. Is that like taking up all of your screen? You can see it reasonably clearly.
Yep.
Don't worry about the wipeout of the second part of it. That's not the point of it. That's that bit. This is the bit that we're interested in. So you've got a 2-on-1, haven't you? Which is one of the most dangerous situations in hockey. It's where the goals are most likely to be scored is in an odd player rush situation like that, where there's either 1-on-none or 2-on-1. These are situations which result in roughly 20% of the time at NHL level, it results in a goal. So statistically, it's a very, very significant thing and something that we want to prevent at almost all costs. Something's gone wrong. There's been a mistake made somewhere and we have a 2-on-1. What's the defensive player doing?
Keeping the same distance from each attacker.
Yeah, well, to an extent, where is he on the ice?
In between both players?
Yeah. Which is doing what?
Cutting off the pass.
Cutting off the pass. Absolutely, 100%. Gold elephant stand. Right? Why is that important? Why do we want to cut off the pass? Why wouldn't you challenge the puck carrier?
Then the goalie can only focus on the puck carrier.
Goalie has to only focus on one. Because goalies like that. I mean, they don't like it at all, but they prefer only having to worry about one player than worry about two. If the goalie has to worry about two players, they don't know which way to go. If they only have to worry about one because you've taken away the passing option, that's a much better thing. Why wouldn't you, as a defensive player, get closer to that puck carrier? Not just from the point of view of cutting off the pass, but what's the other risk? Say, for example, this player here was brave. Brave is usually is bad, and was going to do this and go up there and challenge that player at that point up high on the ice. Very common. A lot of players do it. Why shouldn't you?
It leaves the rest of the ice open to whatever the other team wants to do.
Yep. And what else?
Probably just going to skate around you.
Yeah, they're going to get past you. 50-60% of the time or more, they'll get past you because they've got the advantage. Like, especially in a non-checking grade, and even in checking hockey, they can bounce the puck off the boards or pass it or whatever. And then what have you got? You've got a 2-on-none. You reckon you had a pissed off goalie with 2-on-1? Now they've got a 2-on-none. It's going to be a goal. If you have a 2-on-none at elite level, that's a goal, right? No two ways about it. The goalie's not going to save that because they can just move the puck around until the goalie's out of position and then put it in. Now at lower grades of hockey, at C2, it's much less likely to be, but statistically, it's still a very, very important thing. So you don't want to go. You don't want the defensive players. You don't want to be challenging high. You don't want to challenge at the blue line. Instead, you want to skate back as best you can. And let's watch what he does, because he does this really well. All right. Never challenges that puck carrier. At no point. Just cuts off the pass. And eventually the pass is made because the goalie had it covered, and then he intercepted it with a poke check at a roundabout in line with the hash marks. The hash marks are these lines here. See those lines there on the ice? There's some here as well. They're hash marks. It's a bit hard to see at iceHQ at the moment because the rink needs a repaint. We'll be getting it between the next 2 seasons. But he's made that challenge to this player at that point, because at that point, you can't leave it any later than that. All right. So that's actually really, really good defensive play. That was superb cutting off of what was a really high probability scoring opportunity by managing distance and not going to the puck carrier early. We get tempted to do it. Why do we get tempted to go and do it?
Because we like chasing the puck.
Yeah, partially, but there's another reason for it too. No guesses? Do you feel like you have a shared responsibility when you're playing hockey towards your team and your teammates?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So you see a player coming back and you think, I can't let them not have pressure on them, can I? So I've got to go put some pressure on them. It's a very human thing to do. It's a poor decision, but it's a very understandable one. And that's why we do it. It's like there's an unmarked player coming towards me with a puck. I'd better go put some pressure on them, except you're going to lose it most of the time. So it's actually really a poor decision, but it's a very, very understandable decision. And what we're trying to do throughout the way that we've designed this whole program for your first season of playing is to put you in a position where it's harder for you to make bad decisions. So how do you think you could prevent a defensive player on a back check like that going up and challenging their attacking player at the blue line or high in an attacking area? What tricks do you think your team could do to mean that was less likely to happen?
Make sure you're supporting your other people in your position.
Yeah. What you don't want to have is that player skating in with no pressure on them. Because if they've got pressure on them, then you as a defensive player skating back think you don't have to, because there's already pressure on them. So the idea is the players that are responsible for the back check. That's when you apply pressure on an attacking player. The players that are responsible for taking care of that player and putting pressure on them through the top half of the neutral zone, and even through the neutral zone, which is the area in the middle of the rink, and through back to probably the top of the face-off circles, really, should be the wingers in the center, not the D. The D's job is to hightail it back into the slot. So my defensive player here, I want this player to be getting back here. That's their territory, right? Not going up and challenging that player, because that means this player will go around them, and then we've got no one at home, and then we have an unhappy goalie. And I don't like unhappy goalies. I like cheerful, happy goalies. Cheerful, happy, because goalies are a bit psycho sometimes. Be nice to your goalie. So really, as the player moves back, what should happen? How they move back, managing that distance. Right, what we should see, in order for this defensive player not to be tempted into going up and checking early or applying pressure on this attacking player earlier, is we need another red player to be coming back. And I haven't got one on this little diagram, but a red player to be putting pressure there. Center or a winger. That way, this player won't be tempted to step up and try and do that. Because if they do, they'll get beaten. You can watch videos of the games. I don't know if you're all aware of it or not, but the iceHQ has a video stream and you can look at past games. I've got lots of videos of them if you want examples of it as well, but just basically sit down and watch some of the videos of the C1 and C2 games. And it happens in B grade as well. And watch what happens when defensive players try and challenge early rather than get back into position. And you'll very quickly work out why it is that I'm such a stickler for D getting back and getting into position rather than challenging high. By challenging high, I mean putting pressure on in this area. Right, that's a high challenge. I don't want you to put pressure on as a defensive player until here, which includes centers if you're being a proxy D. So we'll kind of watch how this one pans out. This is just a little animation, so you kind of see that's the point where the pressure should come on. Right? It's pretty simple when you look at it in a little animation like this. There's a lot to think about, really, isn't there? These things build on top of each other, though. You'll find that after a couple of weeks, it will start to make sense. Any questions about that?
Do we want to get back as fast as humanly possible, or still have a presence between the other players and the goals so that we can keep them further away while the wings and the center reposition?
It's a bit of a judgment call. The short answer is there's no right answer. And I know that's not very helpful. When you're starting off, I prefer you to concentrate on getting back first. As you get more game aware, you can measure that and be better at skating backwards so that you can see what's happening and then trying to manage that distance. But when you're starting, to be perfectly honest, if I have two defensive players on per shift and they don't go up past the center line to start with, that's okay. And if they remember that their number one priority is to defend that area in front of the net and they get back there first, that's okay. It's not ideal. Managing how quickly you get back is ideal, but most of you aren't ready to do that yet. And in particular, if you're skating backwards, unless you've seen an attack coming and you know how to recognize it, you're going to get caught out of position. And if at least you're hightailing it back into position, if the goalie makes the first save or they miss, and they will, there will be a lot of missed shots, then you can pick up the mess and clean up the rebounds. Make sense?
Yeah.
So there's no right answer, but my preference is get back first. As your awareness gets better, which will take a couple of weeks, maybe anything up to 6 or so weeks, depending on how quickly you pick up on it, then you can start to be a bit more reactive with how you get back in terms of what your opponents are doing and trying to manage that distance on the way back. To start with, most of you aren't very good at skating backwards terribly quickly, and you're going to have the players coming through, and those rushes will be the fast players from the other team, because that's kind of how it works out. They're the ones that usually make the moves, and they'll just skate straight past you. So you get back first and be prepared. If you're in the right position, they have to come to you eventually anyway. If you think about it from the point of view of scoring, that player in the green, where do they want to be?
Between you and the goals?
Yeah, well, they want to be in that area, don't they? In that prime scoring spot. If I'm trying to score a goal, I want to be somewhere around here. Best place to be. So if I want to defend, if I'm in that area, they're going to come to me anyway. I don't really have to move very far. I don't know if you play basketball, you have the players who basically stand underneath the net, waiting for rebounds and so forth. There's a name for it, I'm sure. If any of you play basketball, you can probably pick me up on the technicalities. I haven't played basketball for 30 years and I don't remember it. But I know that you have an area that you want to defend. And if you just have bodies there, it works. And we want to do the same thing. We just want to have bodies there. Later on, when we do penalty kills, we'll do penalty kills in our next training session, which is a couple of weeks away. One of the things is I'm actually going to put out 4 witches' hats, and I'm going to get you as lines to attack those 4 witches' hats, and they're just going to be set up in the defensive zone as witches' hats. And all you have to do is 2 passes and then try and score a goal. And I'll tell you something for free, witches' hats, they work damn well as defensemen. Just stand there and don't move. They work. So imagine if it's you waving your stick around now, well, that would work. All right. So speaking of penalty kills, because I'm going to repeat this every week until we start to remember. So you guys will at least remember, this is what a penalty kill looks like. See those red players? They are positioned to defend on a penalty. It's called a box defense. What space have we occupied?
The slot.
Yeah, that prime scoring area. We've got 4 players in it. We've got bodies on the ground in the way, preventing your opposition from getting into that space with the puck, with control, to get a good shot. That's all we want to do in a penalty kill. We just want to kill it. We're not going to try and score shorthanded goals. We're not, certainly not at the moment. We just want to occupy this space, dump the puck down the other end, watch the other 10 go down the other end and stuff up their counter attack, because they will. You've got 2 minutes on a penalty. If you get the puck and dump it down the other end, the other team has to go back and get it. There's 10 or 15 seconds. Then they have to work out what to do with it. There's another 20 seconds. Chances are they'll skate up and stuff it up. Maybe they'll put themselves offside. There's another 30 seconds. And before you know it, you've killed the penalty. No big deal. Sounds pretty simple. Watch some of the videos of the finals from last season, on the penalty kill of our teams, and watch how they did it. You just set up that box. Puck comes in, one of you goes and gets it and fires it down the other end as hard as you can. Get rid of it. Don't chase it, just let it go. Because you've got a numerical disadvantage. We're not going to be silly. We're just going to make sure we don't get scored against. And it's actually really hard to score against that. You can't score goals, but that's not the point when you're trying to kill a penalty. Okay, we're going to go through this over and over and over and over again until eventually it sinks in. And I know I've only got a few of you here, so we won't get everyone, but throughout, but the 8 of you, 7 of you, sorry, will be able to remind your teammates where they should be during a penalty kill. That's your job, especially centers. Centers, it's your job to get this organised, and defensive players have to know how to do it. Wingers, it can be a little bit more flexible. Some wingers are better at paying attention to this sort of stuff. Others a little bit less so to start with. We tell wingers at the start that their mistakes don't matter, but about halfway through the season, we change that. But that's the basics of a penalty kill and setting up that box. All right, so we've been going for about an hour. That's probably well and truly enough to have overloaded all of you with stuff to think about. But we started talking about safety, staying on your feet, and keeping your head up and trying to avoid those collisions, which are so damn dangerous. And you've seen why. You've heard that a player had a very badly broken leg in one of the games on Sunday, and we really want to avoid that. So if you're going to be challenged, if there's a head-to-head situation, be careful, slow down a bit. It's just a game of hockey. All right, doesn't matter. Certainly not worth breaking someone's leg for. And stay on your feet. And we're hoping that we'll have a rule about not deliberately diving for the puck, because we do think it is a particularly dangerous thing to do in a hockey. I think we then spoke about a little bit of a recap of the games and the importance of quick changes and being prepared, trying to be at the games on time or early, getting all your gear sorted out nice and early so that you can actually concentrate on playing the game and being there for the pre-game briefing and all that sort of stuff, so that when I talk to you about what the goals are for that particular game, hopefully you get a chance to at least hear it and remember it. That makes a difference. And it's also your opportunity to ask some questions. It was also, you know, not just you, not just the 7 of you who are participating in this, but encourage your teammates to get out and go skating. I can't stress that enough. If you don't do anything else, if you don't do hockey school, if you don't do skate school or any of those other sorts of things, at least go to some public sessions and skate. And encourage your teammates to do it. Get together as a group. It's all right. We're all going to go down to, you know, iceHQ. I get that iceHQ isn't always terribly convenient because, you know, it's always hockey's on, but you can go to Docklands. The Docklands rink is open on late Friday nights and that sort of stuff, and late Saturdays and just about 24 hours a day. Go there and skate. Get together as a group, you know, go off and have dinner afterwards. There's plenty of junk food places there to eat or whatever, but try and get that culture happening within your groups of we're going to go and work on our skating. It's really valuable. All of you who are in this team are going to be through it. We don't give anyone preferential treatment with regards to ice time or anything. So it is in your interests to make sure that your teammates improve their skating, because that will improve your chances of having good games. Isn't that right, Kate?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so you guys are leaders and ambassadors for improving the skills of your teammates. Even if it's just going to a rink and just skating around and talking, that's better than doing nothing, right? Just do it, yeah. And we spoke briefly about about positioning face-offs. Have a plan what to do with the puck if you can. We'll go into that a lot more over the next few weeks, in particular for centers. What I'll probably do is have a Zoom session that's just for centers, because there's some technical stuff we want to do. And additionally, if you can make it along with stick and pucks or anything, let me know. So we can do some practice with face-offs. I'm going to be at the one tomorrow morning, for example, at iceHQ from about 8:15 through to about 9:30, 9:45. I know that's a horrible time for most people who live in the real world, but it is school holidays. So, I don't know, resign or something. And then we looked a little bit at defensive distance management and a little bit at the penalty kill. So that was pretty much tonight's session. Do you remember any of it? Probably not. It's a lot of stuff. But you can watch the video. It will be posted on the Facebook group in probably the next 45 minutes or so. It takes a computer a while to process it and so forth, but it will be stuck up there so you can have a look and go over it again. Hopefully I've explained things as clearly as I can without it being too confusing, and it has been a useful use of your hour on a Tuesday night when I'm sure you'd rather be sitting on the couch watching Netflix or something. So I will see you all on Sunday for game 2. Unless you have any questions. No questions? We're all good? Take that as a yes. We're all good. No questions. All right. I will see you on Saturday. Please feel free to send me any questions through Facebook Messenger or email. Hopefully you now will know how to get in touch with me. I'm tempted to say there are no stupid questions, except we all know that there are. But feel free to ask them anyway, and I'll do my best to explain things. There are no questions. I don't expect you to know anything about hockey at this point. So any questions about how it works, completely reasonable, even if you think it's a really dumb one and everyone should know the answer. I don't think it's a dumb question, because if you don't know the answer, then clearly it's not, because we have to get that information across to you somehow. So don't feel bad about asking me questions that you think are obvious, but keep your sense of humor. All good?
Yep, thanks, Carl.
Just go.
See you on
Thanks,
Sunday.
Carl.
Oh.
See you all on Sunday.